Man, hey everyone, this is Kenny Coins from Marathon Money, man. I have the
Right.
pleasure and the honor to have my guy F2 on the podcast. He's doing an amazing thing with his clothing brand. He's out there inspiring people. I know he met one of my friends, Hard Knot Life, while he was interviewing him.
Dang, man. Good
Um,
dude.
yeah, he is a good dude. He is a good dude. Man, I'm just really honored to have you on the show. And I saw a clip where you was talking to Freeway Ricky Ross. You really getting out there with the
OG.
connections. You know what I mean? So it's very exciting to be able to talk to somebody that's, they're growing, they're creating generational wealth for their sons. Man, but like first question I got, what I mean, after you introduce yourself, uh like how do you gain this type of mindset?
Well, first off, Kenny, I just want to thank you so much for your platform, being able to provide an opportunity to entrepreneurs like myself to be able to tell our stories, especially coming from, let's just call it neighborhoods of which we were born and raised in, because we don't see enough of us being represented at a high level. Congratulations on you being able to not, only being raised in Miami, but Goldman Sachs, right? You can hang your hat on that. I don't know too many people. You're probably the second person that I've met that comes from that pedigree of Goldman Sachs, right? So I'm glad we were able to meet because you could share with me, that cutthroat culture that I'm sure you learned a lot from, right? In terms of finance, or they call it finance, right? That's how
Definitely.
that's how they pronounce it,
Definitely.
right? Finance, right?
Finance,
but
yeah, definitely.
finance, but going back to the mentality, I think that's where it all starts, right? As a kid, I established a mentality of it was very extreme at some points because I knew that I created these outrageous goals as a kid, and I knew that some way somehow that I was going to go out there and get it, right? And I've always had that grit, that work ethic. From a sports point of view, you and I play ball. I'm not the biggest linebacker, right? So I was, I knew I had to either outsmart them or be quicker, learn how to read the lineman a lot faster in order for me to even get on the field. So I never was the biggest, strongest, fastest in terms of sports. Didn't come from a business background. Didn't go to Warren. Didn't grow up around affluent business owners. But I knew I had these dreams, and I just had to figure out first off how to create great relationships with successful entrepreneurs, learn from them, and then figure out okay, what business industry do I feel I have a competitive advantage in, and then go all in, as Nip has said. So it all starts, as I had mentioned, with that mindset earlier on, and I can attribute that also to us playing ball, right? When you're trying to, I was a walk on at Cal, so Kenny, like as a walk on, you do all the drills, you do all the conditioning, you do everything, but you don't
You
get
still
training
have it?
after, you don't get none of that, right?
Yeah, nah.
You don't get none of that, right?
You don't
So
get none of that love that a scholarship
no
guy
perks, right?
gets when he gets
So,
on the
but that
field.
taught me a lot, though. Of I'm here to work. They're not going to give me anything, and I'm going to earn this scholarship. And along my path, I was able to earn that scholarship, which was a great accomplishment in and of itself. And then from there, I just utilized that same work ethic, that same discipline of me setting these goals and utilizing that walk on mentality that no one's going to give me anything, that I got to be the hardest worker in the room, first one in, last one out, no matter what the goal is. And I carried that walk on mentality into business. Now, just like Mark Cuban said, man, unlike sports, there's no off season in business. So you getting punched every day, and that was the actual. I felt like that was became a superpower for me because now, if you really think about it, now you got to play the long game because now it's literally a pun intended. It's a marathon now. Now we're running a marathon, like marathon money, right? Instead of it being football where it's 100-meter
Yeah.
sprints and it has to, you making plays in and out, right? Happens in seconds. Now it's more you're playing the long game.
No,
So to
you are.
me, I had to cater and create a lifestyle in which I was playing the long game. For instance, my morning routine. In football, it was a lot of sprints, fast twitch, stuff like that. Now I run 10 miles a day. right? The content that I'm consuming, I'm playing the long game, right? The food that I'm consuming, a plant-based diet, because I'm playing the long game, right? So with business, it's more of, success is about endurance now, right? It's no longer the 40. If you can run the 40 and 4.2, 4.6 or whatnot, right? Now it's endurance. How long can we stay in this ring and punch each other out, right? Now it's an endurance game. So just understanding that success is about endurance, I literally designed my whole life around playing the endurance game. Because as you know, Kenny, just like you had mentioned, and we were talking about your podcast, you don't know when it's going to crack. 1 year, 6 months, or if it's ever going to crack.
You don't know,
Right?
man. You
don't
don't.
know. There's no
That's
guarantees.
any business, man. You don't know when.
You don't know when.
And
Right?
the endurance thing is people don't realize that's a real thing.
It's a real
So
thing.
many people give up 1, 2, 3 years in a business, it's over. There's a reason that statistic exists. After 3 or 4 years, that business is done. And really, like, a lot of business don't really start taking off until like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years into it. And that's when
I'm glad you brought that up, Kenny, because when I decided to jump off the porch and pursue my dreams in apparel, in all honesty, I gave myself a 10-year rule. How many people do that, Kenny? How many people are really committed to say, I'm gonna put in 10 years, and if this don't crack by 10 years, okay, cool. I'm gonna fold it up and I'm gonna move on and do something, right? And ironically, Kenny, to keep it 100 with you, we really didn't start getting motion until year 10, Kenny. So think about that. What about Kenny? What about God told you, you're going to get this blessing. You're going to get your apparel in Nordstrom. You just got to hold on for 10 years, Kenny. Who's going to hold on for 10 years? Think about that. In the microwavable society that we live in, everybody wants it now, dog, right? But anything that's built, right? Rome, Samoa, any of these successful businesses, countries, it didn't happen overnight. So you have to lay down a strong foundation in order for you to go vertical, which is why I've always, in the Hard Knocks interview that I did with James, right? And nobody want to bring up Jay-Z's lyrics, but I mean, he said what he said. You a trend or you Ralph Lauren?
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean? Like Ralph Lauren been around 50 plus years. But think about the foundational pieces that he put in place to be around 50 plus years. I'm honored to have our apparel in Nordstrom's now. Nordstrom's been around since 1901. Yeah, and I'm honored to have met the grandsons of the empire, right? So what's innate, and then the fabric of a Nordstrom, of a Nike, of a Ralph Lauren, is this fabric of they're playing the long game. So I'm studying their business model, the inner workings of their actual business, the team that they actually formulate in order to play the long game. Right?
You ever heard that quote from Eric Thomas? You at the top now. It's not the time where it's not the time to sit down, not the time to relax. No, you at the top now. Like, I feel like the moment you met the grandson of Nordstrom, you at the top. It's not time to chill.
It's all gas now. It's
all gas now. You gotta put it in. You actually have no choice.
You got that.
You at the top now. You got no choice. You gotta put it.
Remember, we may not get another shot at this.
No, you may not.
You feel me?
No,
so
you
it's
may
all
not.
gas now, right?
It's all gas now.
Just like golf.
What are you learning?
When you got that shot to go, like my shot was against Oklahoma at Cap, right?
Yeah.
Special teams. I was second on, I think it was like R1, R2. I'm sure you're familiar with, kickoff team or whatever. The dude was on the other side. He was like, "Bye, you're in." This is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life, Kenny. My whole hood was waiting for me just to go run down on special teams, Kenny. You feel me?
Yeah.
And so once you're given the shot, because you've trained, you watch film, you've drawn out the kickoff team, how you gonna run down and swim the dude and make the play. You've envisioned this a million times. It's the same thing of walking up in that Nordstrom design room. It's the same thing of walking up in that Nike meeting. You've dreamt of this moment your whole life. And you envisioned it over and over and over. And then once you're given the shot, like, you gonna, just like they say in ball, like, I'm gonna give you the rock, but what you gonna do with it? You feel me, Kenny? So when I'm given the opportunity, because I've been putting in the reps, come on, bro, it's go time. It's showtime. Come on, man.
It gotta be. I feel like you're at the top right now. Man, what are you learning? Like, You meaning the grandsons of Nordstrom? What are you learning? What, like, you got to be getting the sauce
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so that's why I'm glad that, well, I'm honored again that you reached out, with your platform, because I want to share this in real time, right? Just like you said. And so what I am learning is, and I would recommend one of my favorite books. It's called E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Okay. And at the highest level, most successful businesses have successful systems. Okay, think about it, right? And so if you want to study these specifically, because I'm in apparel, the 4 pillars to apparel is design, production, marketing, and sales. And in that order, right? Obviously, there's other subcategories, but for the most part, that's what accounting is for, right? And if in fact you can master those 4 pillars in apparel, hire on the right team to actually execute those 4 pillars, then you have a shot at being successful, right? But what I mean by successful systems is once you've hired on the right people, your team, there has to be a successful system in which it goes from point A to B, C to D, and really streamline that system. Okay. A great example is we have to deliver our holiday collection in about a month. Okay. Aside from the purchase order system that they have in place at Nordstrom, there's a whole system in which you have to box, carton labels, packing slips, shipping, bill of lading. There's a whole system involved in order to run a $1 billion company like a Nordstrom. Okay, and these are the inner workings of why they've been around 100+ years, because they're really systems. They hire on the great talent, and they execute these systems. And so my goal is, even though we don't have 2,000, 3,000 employees now, but my goal is to say, even with the 10 folks that we have on our team now for Island Nav, I am encouraging them. I am leading them as if there's 2,000 people I have to lead with successful systems in place. Because at one point, again, the way I envision it, there will be 2,000 employees that will run the brand, and it'll be a global empire. And so we can operate as if we got 2,000 employees now. By the time we get there, well, Kenny, we've been doing this, right? We've been doing it. So being able to solidify a successful system, obviously understanding your business model to a T, okay? Understanding what competitive advantage you have within your business model. This is why you got into apparel or real estate or starting a car dealership or whatnot. And then implementing the right team, managing this team, and making sure that you streamline the system. Again, full disclosure, it's not perfect. Right? I'm still trying to streamline our system now, but I'm learning as we go in real time, which is why I'm glad I'm on Marathon Money to be able to share that. Systems. E-Myth, Michael Gerber was one of the first books that I read, aside from Rich Dad Poor Dad, earlier on in my entrepreneur 10, 15 years ago. And it talks about successful systems. A great example is McDonald's. Kenny and I, you and I could probably cook a better burger, but can you do it in the same burger in Ukraine, in China, and in Compton? That's successful systems, right? That's run by teenagers.
100%.
Successful system.
That's what also made Nick Saban so good at Alabama.
Oh man, come on.
It was a system.
It's a system.
And when the system breaks, you don't win championships. It's very simple. And a system breaks in a business, you don't make money and you don't be as successful as you can be.
Absolutely.
But man, I gotta know something. And I think everybody struggles with this. In the 10-year period, there gotta be a time where you were just like, you know what? I'm not making money. I'm not making enough money. Let me just do something else. Let me go get a regular job.
Oh yeah, that's happened. That happened 6 months ago, right? Even in the midst, Kenny, even in the midst of all this, and us trying to scale, right? Those doubts always set in, which is why I always say when I do these interviews, man, I'm just gonna keep it 100. This entrepreneur thing, although it's like, the entrepreneur has become the rock star on Instagram, in all honesty, dog, it ain't for everybody. It really ain't. Okay, I'm gonna keep it 100. It's really not for everybody. Because the reason why I say that is because there's a level of stress. If you're trying to, again, let me premise this and let me contextualize it as well. If you're trying to play in the big leagues, okay, meaning you're trying to compete with Goldman Sachs and BlackRock, and Carlisle Group, right? This is the big leagues now, and I'm sure you're familiar with these guys, right, Kenny? Or the
Of
you're trying
course.
to be Nordstroms, and you're trying to be
Yeah.
in Macy's and Tilly's and Neiman's, right?
You trying to get up there.
If you're trying to play at the highest level, okay, the level of stress that one has to overcome on a day-to-day basis, okay, that alone, which is why I premise by saying this is not for everybody, because there's a level of stress in which your threshold and your tolerance for stress has to actually be very, very high.
Pressure.
There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows.
Yeah.
And the average human being, Kenny, to be keep it 100, can't deal with the high and the low, which is why, okay, majority of society is good with the paycheck. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that because that's where I came from, okay? But if you think about the paycheck keeps you stable here.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship, you get a lot of highs and a lot of
A
lows.
lot of lows. And
Right.
you could be doing those a lot of highs, a lot of lows for years.
Years.
And I try to tell people in the stock market, if you look at it day by day, you're gonna sell your stock every day.
Every day.
But if you actually look at it a 10-year run, it don't look bad at all. It actually looks great.
Great.
It's like you keep all you did was move up.
Yeah.
You only had these little dips. Nah, you didn't feel the day by day, bro. Like you didn't feel that those little dips that you see on the chart was during that time, it was huge. The dips was massive. And you know what I mean? But that's part of the game. And
all part of the game.
And the stock market will teach you, just like in business, it shakes out the weak.
Absolutely.
It shakes out.
If you think about it, it goes back to sports. It goes back to football, right? Everybody comes in, everyone's competing. You already know the cream rises to the top. Cream of the crop rises to the top. It shakes it out. Like, oh, we all start, and there's X amount of players, and then by the time fall camp comes, half of the people are gone.
Yeah, everybody over summer is talking about, oh, I'm finna start, I'm finna this, I'm finna be on TV, I'm finna. Nah, you don't understand. And freshman year, I came in like that. Yeah. Sophomore year, I knew better. Sophomore year, I knew better. You know what I mean? It's like it's not. And I try to explain it to people like this: is everybody's hungry.
Yeah.
But you don't realize how hungry you really are until you find somebody that's hungrier.
Oh yeah.
Once you find somebody else hungrier, you start questioning yourself. Am I really this hungry for this? Do I really want this? You start really asking yourself that question. You start really talking to yourself, man. I don't know if I want this, man. This is a lot. Like what he's doing, I'm not willing to do. Yeah. And that's the thing. What, like, when it comes to entrepreneurship, business, whatever, even sports, what are you willing to do to get to the top? Yeah. How long you willing to stay in the gym? How long you willing to fight for your dreams? That's what all is going to come down to. If it takes you 20 years, it takes you 20 years. Nobody, if people come up with these 5-year plans, it's like 5 years. Yeah,
you just
started. 5 years, you just finally made your first 10K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that, you know what I mean, that you take home. And a lot of people don't understand. That's why I like the calling this marathon money when we called it, because this is a really long journey. And you know the statistics, the average age of a millionaire is 59 years old. That's the average age of a millionaire. So that should tell you right there how long it really takes.
It really takes. That's a great point.
That right there should tell you how long it actually really takes. And just look, Nordstrom, Macy's, like they're 100 years.
Yeah.
And if you look at Macy's, how many times they almost went bankrupt or went under? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a lot of the highest level.
Yeah. And think about it, like they had big competition. JCPenney, Sears, they're all gone now.
All gone.
You know what I mean? It's like it's part of the game, and you can't deny JCPenney was here for at least 100 years.
Man, come on, we all grew up on JCPenney.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So that tells you what like the game is really like. You know what I mean? It goes back to systems. It goes back. It also is also what you feed in the system too.
Absolutely.
Just like you said, educational wise, what you feed in your body. you know what I mean, what you learning, what you listening to, who you surround yourself. You know what I mean? Your friends will also keep you afloat.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You got people around you that's feeding you, you feeding them. When you fall, they also keep you afloat. I
Absolutely.
mean, you always hear the stories of like, oh man, I need a $10 million loan, but I did a whole bunch of business with this client and they front me that 10 million to keep me afloat. Like you hear those is also the circle of friends.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? So man, what's your ultimate vision? I know you want to be global, but like what is it this like Island Avenue gonna look like in like 5 years? You're at the top. Now you get to really mold this.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Well, great question. As I have always said, in terms of being the visionary and the founder of Island Ave, I always had ambitions and aspirations of taking the brand global. And so I bring up the Ralph Lauren's. I even bring up the Tommy Bahamas because I've studied their business model. I've studied their founders. I've studied all, because they're publicly traded companies, right? So a lot of their financials are actually public. And so I've studied a lot of the decisions that they've made over the years because of the fact that I believe success always leaves clues, right? And it's there. And so my vision for Island Ave is obviously to take it global. Specifically, we want to grow within the Nordstrom system. We're in 5 doors now. We should be expanding in another 20 by Q2, and they, I believe, have 93. So the goal is to be in all 93. And I have a specific game plan for 2025 to be able to scale it into all 93. All goes well, right? Aside from that, within the brand, we have a resort wear vertical. Obviously, the name says it all. So I've already been in contacts with the likes of St. Regis Miami. I already actually met with those folks. We are in talks with Disney Aulani, obviously because our connection to Hawaii and the South Pacific. And then a buddy of mine owns the Waldorf in Utah. And so because there's specific designs that I feel fit those resort wear customers, well, we're going to provide that product there as well, right? And then there's a licensing play. My goal is to build it to where now we've garnered so much brand equity within the market. Now we're getting licensees approaching us and saying, "Hey, we're the biggest manufacturer in footwear. Why not Island Ave Footwear? We're the biggest manufacturer like Luxottica who makes glasses. Why not Island Ave Sunglasses? Hey, we're the biggest manufacturer in fragrances. Why not Island Ave Fragrances?" And the only reason why I bring up the licensing game, and you're in New York, Kenny, and breaking news, I want to break it to you on Marathon Monday. We just landed the FUBU class, okay? And I learned licensing from Damon. I had no idea. I was like, I wondered how they went from making jerseys in Queens to now they got fragrances and shoes and jeans and right. And so when Damien, and then obviously I met him recently at an Alibaba conference in which we both spoke at. When he had mentioned that he explained on different platforms, including Drink Champs and Breakfast Club on licensing. Again, coming from the who knows about licensing? What does that mean? What does license even mean, right? And so when he was able to elaborate in the way that we understood it, my goal was to say, I'm gonna do exactly that, right? So full circle moment, met Damon about a month ago, connected with his people, and we're literally in talks to creating that collab for Q1 2025. Come on, Kenny, man. And remember, Kenny, we're gonna be out there in NYC. They already agreed to do a Nordstrom activation, in-store activation, so we can actually do a in-store interview or a podcast right there in Nordstrom. We get it in. You know what I
Man,
mean? Live there. You feel what I'm saying?
man, I gotta be there to see that, man.
Come
That's
on,
gonna be
come on,
congratulations, man.
come on.
One, I wanna say on the topic, I don't know a lot of people out there that reads the Bible. There's a saying is like the richer get richer and the poor get poor. And people actually think that's like a bad thing. It actually said like when your good things are happening in your life, more good things happen. It's like a snow. What it's talking about is a snowball effect. And then just like when bad things happen, more bad things happen until you stop it.
Yeah.
And right now, you're building that snowball. And at one point, you're gonna get to that top of that mountain, and then after that, it's just gonna be straight residual for you. It's gonna be just a snowball, just gonna be massive, and it's just gonna everything at that point is gonna be for you a touch of a button. You
Yeah.
pick up the phone, things get done for you. And that's when you really start stepping into generational wealth. Because I
Absolutely.
learned that so much from just working in on Wall Street and being on the finances. Like I met this guy out in Jamaica and he's worth like 300 million, man. All he really does, man, he just pick up the phone and say, "Hey man, I got this business idea." And in less than 2 weeks, that business is up and running and generating income. And that I think people he's in his 70s. It took him almost 50 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like now his kids can pick up the phone and say, "Man, I want to buy this car dealership, or I want to buy this manufacturer, hire this consultant, hire this person, build a team, run it." I think that the way your mindset is set up, I think you're headed towards that direction.
I
That's how
appreciate that.
that's
Yeah.
how I see it. You're headed towards that direction, and that's where you really want to be. You kind of want to be in a space where you're thinking. Like you're thinking of the ideas, and now you have the team, you got the players,
Execute.
and you just at this point you're the coach.
Yep. On the Belichick.
Yeah, you the
That's it.
coach. That's it. You the coach. You the owner.
Yeah, Kenny, let me really expound on that point. I'm reading a book. Again, I'm a big book person. Going back to, pun intended, Marathon Monday. I wasn't able to meet Nip before he passed. His brother Black Sam and I have created a great relationship. We met years before Nip passed, and to this day, again, there's some stuff behind the scenes that we got planning. But again, I go back to relationships. Okay. And the reason why I bring that up is because I'm reading a book, and I bring up Nip because he was a big book person. Okay, so obviously, I mentioned him. Our current book is the book by Sam Zell. Probably familiar with Sam Zell. He was the biggest owner of real estate at one point until he sold off to Blackstone, and supposedly they called it the Godfather offer, meaning they gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. Right, a Jewish cat, and within that book. I literally just finished reading it today. It's called "Am I Being Too Subtle?" And he provided us with a term in Hebrew called Shem Tov, and basically what Shem Tov means is a good name. Okay, and the irony behind you mentioning the entrepreneur in Jamaica and him being able to pick up a call, push a button, 2 weeks later there's a business up and running, is because he mentioned exactly that. Because he solidified a great name in business from day one because he was a principled man, a man of integrity. He said there was plenty of times throughout his business career in which he could have done business deals that really compromised his principles, and he didn't do it. Okay? Because of the fact that he grew up on principles, a man of integrity. One of them was a payday loan that's obviously in every hood. Okay, he mentioned this in this book.
Yeah, payday loans are in every hood. That's kind of the
Think
worst thing for the hood.
about this. He
Yeah.
gets the call, flies to New York. It's in this book. They pitch him. From a business standpoint, he admits it's a great idea. However, he says in this book, I could not sleep at night knowing that I'm charging 300% to the everyday working class citizen that just needs to float for the next 2 weeks. Come on, dog, like, right? But some people can. Some people are ruthless like that. He couldn't do that. So the reason why I bring up Sam Zip, because he stood on principles. He was taught from his father, and this principle was Shem Tov, meaning a good name, personal and in business. 20, 30 years later, he's able to pick up the phone, Kenny. Okay? Call in a favor, create a business, push a button. 2 weeks later, a week later, everything is executed. Why? Because it started from him having a great name, building a great business, building great relationships in which he's able to pick up the phone and make it happen. So I I really wanted to harp on that because sometimes, especially in this day and age, no, just telling my son this the other day, like, you grow up in the hood and they're like, oh, the only way to succeed in business is you just got to be scandalous. I don't believe it. I really don't. Because me personally, I'm not that kind of person, right? And I'm a father. So when my son is named after me, Favai as well. Like when he goes out into the world and they come across him and they say, I met your father. Like the best compliment could be is that, man, I met your father. It's a great man, right? It's a great man. And so I say this because me building relationships and showing my son that from a personal standpoint, from a football standpoint, that benefited my son because 17 years later, when he started to get recruited, Kenny, okay, he went to the modern day. He went, if you know modern day, like it's the powerhouse, okay? All right, my brother went to modern day. We shipped him out of the hood. We went to modern day, okay? It's a powerhouse, okay? So when those recruiters were coming, some of the guys that I played with were still coaching. Now, if I solidified a great name 20 years later, 20 years prior, I can now pick up the phone on behalf of my son, correct, Kenny? Hey, man, this is Fabai. Oh, what's up, Fabai, man? Hey, my son's playing now. You look at his tape, absolutely. So it's not just business. This is in life where it really matters, Kenny, right? So I believe, and just like Sam Zell said in his book, how you do one thing is how you do everything, Kenny, right? So when you're dealing with me from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, you're going to get who I really am as a person. And I'm not going to compromise those principles for anything because it's not worth it. To me, it ain't worth it, right? Because I got to look at my son in this. Right. So I really had to harp on that, Kenny, because I don't want to lose sight of us, having these aspirations and these ambitions of building these multi-million-dollar companies and passing on generational wealth. But what I don't want to do is, seek adulation of the world, but lose your soul along the way.
Man, that's
biblical.
That'd be the worst.
Biblical, Kenny. It's biblical. You know that.
That'd be the worst when people lose their soul, and
you
can see it in the trail they leave as they make it. You can it's like you look back and say like, yeah, you worth $1 billion, but man, you destroyed everybody.
Lives.
You destroyed lives. You actually not a good person. Your money's actually blood money.
Yeah. And as you know in the hood, Kenny, all money ain't good money. They say that. Come on.
100% they say that, man. All money ain't good money.
All money ain't good money. You know what that means?
Yeah, it's definitely not. And that you make such a good point. It's like, yeah, you can make it. You can have all the success, but if I look back, the trail you leave and it's all destruction. And it's like, did you really become successful, or you just
that really a win, right?
Did you really win?
Yeah, did you really win?
The truth is your family's gonna have to deal with that. The people that you leave the money to is gonna have to deal with that. And it's like you're never gonna be really trusted. Yeah, you're successful, and you're gonna get people that gonna come to you because you're successful, but there's always gonna be that distrust. There's always gonna be like, man, I feel like I'm taking bad money from this guy. And that's you don't want to be successful like that. No. You definitely don't want to be successful like that. But man,
and then not only that, real quick, I'm gonna harp on this point too. My belief is true success is the impact you make on people's lives, right? Because that part, Kenny's priceless. You feel me? Which is why I love coming on podcasts like this. And a lot of us come from these neighborhoods of which we didn't have much, right? But the goal is for me to, be a shining light, a light of motivation, a beacon of hope for the next generation that, man, Vi and I, we grew up in LA together. He went through the same losses. They took the same losses. Their homies went to prison forever. They lost the same homies. But look at what he was able to do and supersede that. But not only that, come back and give back. So my true definition of success is how many lives did you impact? Okay, cool. You caught a lick and you caught a couple M's. But what'd you do with the M's? Did you come back and empower the community? Did you give the game back at least? Right? Maybe it wasn't monetary, but did you give the knowledge back?
You know what I mean?
To empower someone else. You feel me?
You know what I mean? Did you reach back? You know what I mean? Reach one, teach one. You know what I mean? You like just saying, reach one, teach one. Right. I think a lot of people, like, they get successful and they forget. They forget where they come from. They bougie now. They don't want to talk to anybody from their old hood. They don't have they you can't even reach them. Everything is inconvenience for them. And I definitely don't want to be that type of person. That's why I try to like stay below my means, never let my head blow up. Because stuff like this, man, as you make it and more people get, and you probably feeling it now. People coming
Yeah.
at you left and right. You know what I mean? People
Well, but
coming at
remember,
you left.
Kenny, like, I studied a lot of successful people, and that's exactly what comes with it, right? However, Kenny, we're principled human beings, we're principled men. So despite the attention and the adulation that's coming, remember, I was a secure human being before this. You feel me? And
Yeah,
in the hood, I was cracking before this. So
yeah,
it's not like I needed to do this just to be, right? I've already solidified my name in my neighborhood as a pillar in the community. So whatever comes with that, I understand how to manage that, right? So even with any of the posts, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok, I'm very meticulous as to what part of my life I actually reveal to the public. Because technically, personally, if you know me, I'm a private person by nature, right? And as you know, real bosses don't speak, move in silence, right? So a lot of moves,
wealth move in silence.
they
Wealth move
move
in
in
silence.
silence, right? So, but when I'm able to come on a platform like this, you have so many listeners and so many viewers in which we can provide value in real time, like that to me is so fulfilling, because there's something that you and I are going to say to somebody that's going to listen or view it, that's going to give them their tipping point, right? And just like I mentor a lot of the young homies that's doing their businesses, and they come to the shop and they ask me these questions, and they're like, why did you plug me with the plug like that? Why did you connect me with so and so? I said, man, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Is because there's gonna be, I see the talent in you, I see that you have the drive, but there's going to be people that you're going to inspire that Vodka never got to. So I'm giving you the plug so you could go do what you do and touch all the millions of lives that I could have never got to because of your talent. That's what you chosen to do. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
there's people on here, Kenny, that you're going to continue to inspire, and through providing your platform and this just, real cool, laid back conversation, that we're going to be able to inspire so many people along the way. And then, a couple months from now, when we do the activation over there in Nordstrom, New York, live, you feel me? Marathon money in Nordstrom, you know what I mean, in New York, we're
we
going to
got
really hit it.
we got it. I'm gonna be out there.
We're
I'm gonna
going
be
to
out
do it
there
live.
supporting you. Trust me, man. We're gonna be
You know what
out
I mean?
there.
Like, come on.
But man, I do one last question. I
Yeah.
think this is more towards generational. I got a son, and I always say, as a father, if your son is not better than you in every
Oh,
way,
come on.
like,
Come on.
did you really like be a father to him?
Absolutely.
Because, and I always say, like I never understood the fathers that still want to be better than their sons.
Yeah,
No, I want my
that's
son to
an
be better.
insecurity. Kenny, I'm gonna
Yeah, I
keep
want my
it
son to be
insecurity.
better than me in every form
Everything.
of life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, make better decisions than I make better friends than I
Yep.
have a better relationship than God than I have, better relationship with their spouse, whatever the case may be, family, mother. I think like what you're trying to do for your sons and your family is like the goal is to be better than me. I'm gonna leave you this, and then that's my belief. That's what I
Absolutely.
believe. You know what I mean? I don't know if you believe the same way, but I definitely believe that. And I love to hear that when you said, I mean, I got a son, I'm trying to create generational wealth. And then you're meeting like the grandsons of Nordstrom. And like that's the definition of no, I want my kids to be better than me. This is what I'm leaving for them.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I totally agree, Ken. You and I are fathers, and so I knew that there was a tie that binds us, right? Of being fathers, okay? And I totally would come from the same cloth of I want to provide whatever tools and skills, and the most importantly, the example to my son on a day-to-day basis, for him to succeed at a high level. And lo and behold, my belief is that we've accomplished that thus far. He was a better athlete than me. He was taller than me. He went to a better school than me. Like every part of my son's life, he's gotten the betterment of it. And I'm very, very proud of that. And he will continue to be groomed to be a better human being than I ever was, because that was always my goal. I truly believe my priority as well as my calling, first calling, was to be his father. And I'm honored to have been chosen to be his father. It's a privilege, it's an obligation, but it's a privilege to be his father. So I rise every day in knowing that I have to set the best example for him. And so when we're able to meet, again, father to father, knowing that we're trying to build wealth for our kids, that we're trying to build wealth for our families, I'm glad we're able to connect on that wavelength. Because at the end of the day, that was what it was about the whole time.
It's always about that, man. We kind of went 10 minutes over, man. We got
man, my bad.
no,
No,
no, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of time, but I just want to say I appreciate everybody that is tuning in, viewing this, listening to this. Man, I appreciate F2 for coming on.
Yes, sir.
Man, Islands Avenue. I already can see it. $10 billion. You know, I mean, you got to put it out there.
$10 billion exit, Kenny. $10 billion exit. You feel me?
Yeah, that's what you always gotta put it out there. You know what I mean? You gotta put it out there. You gotta put it out there. And it'll be great to have, I see you as part of my network now. And it's always great to see people in your network doing well.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Always great. It's always phenomenal. I want that for you. You have a great name.
Likewise.
You got a great story, and you a hustler. You a hustler.
Yes,
you're a motivator, and I'm definitely proud to get to know you on this podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Besides that,
man, thank you so much for your podcast, Marathon Money. Thank you so much. Continued success. Continue to provide this platform for all entrepreneurs, so we could, continue to inspire and lean on each other during our journey. And I can't wait for us to link over there in New York City in a couple months as we launch that FUBU collab, man. We'll go ahead and get a live interview right there in Nordstrom, New York, with the FUBU fam out there, brother.
Man, I would appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Hey, peace.
Peace, brother.